Thank you. Thank you so much for your invitation for this very interesting meeting. I would like to speak about arthroscopic repair of the subscapularis. But before, it's very important to describe very well the subscapularis tear, and there is some anatomical specificity of the subscapularis because it has a very specific relationship with the rotator interval, and the rotator interval was very nicely described by Bernard Yost, and the superficial layer of it is the combination of superficial fiber of supraspinatus and subscapularis, and they go over the biceps groove. The biceps groove is also very important in the anatomy of the subscapularis, and the inferior part of the muscle is without tendon, and the muscle goes directly to the humeral side. The footprint is different too. But there is a lot of different classification. The Fairman classification only for MRI classification, but it is not described very well the partial tear or full thickness tear in the different grade. The classification of Laurent Lafosse is described some full thickness tear, but not very partial thickness tear. Too, the classification from Yo is very interesting because it describes the insertion of the superficial layer of the subscap into the biceps groove and superficial layer or rotator interval. For the French Arthroscopic Society Symposium, you present a new classification with the type 1 is just the fraying of the deep layer of the subscap. The type 2 is the anterior wall split of the anterior wall of the biceps groove, and you have detachment of the deep layer of the subscapularis, but the superficial layer is intact. In type 3, you have a bigger deep layer detachment with superior glenohumeral ligament damage. And for the type 4, it's a full thickness tear, and you have a free edge of the subscap totally detached from the biceps groove. In different classification, someone is start from the supraspinatus model and put on the reality and begins to establish different type. Our classification and your classification start from a reality and see what is right with it. But like the previous topic, the partial tears are more common, more frequent, and the repair strategy depends on the tip of the tear. For the full thickness tear, you need from outside the box technique to repair the subscap. For the very limited partial tear, type 1 and type 2, you can repair from inside the box with a single row. And if you have extend partial tear like type 3, you must convert the partial tear in a full thickness tear to improve the inferior footprint approach and fix by a double row technique. For the inside the box technique, you stay with the scope by posterior, posteriorly, and you use three another portal, one lateral, one anterior-superior to have a good access just at the level of the bicep groove, and anterior access for the anchor approach. And for the outside of the box, you can put your scope laterally. The muscle release is very important because you need to release the rotator interval, especially the coracohumeral ligament. You need to release anteriorly between the conjunct tendon and the axillary nerve, and you need to release the posterior part of the subscapularis, like glenoid side, to decrease the adhesion of medial glenohumeral ligament. The bone fixation, it depends if you use single row or double row. You have different technique for do that. And if you do single row, it's relatively easy. If you use an anterior portal to pass the suture and you go through the tendon, and you can manage the suture like for the partial tear without complete the tear, and you can manage by the rotator interval, and you can see and you can tie the suture by the anterior portal. If you have a full thickness tear, you need to release anteriorly, and you can see the axillary nerve to be sure is not with adhesion with the muscle. You clean the superior part very well, the coracoid on top, and you can check the biceps groove on the biceps. You see here, the biceps groove is here, and the biceps is subluxed anteriorly, and after you can check the reducibility of the subscap, and after that, after the release, you see the muscle fiber, and you can fix it with a double row technique. You pass two inferior suture, and you pass two superior suture. After, separately, I prefer to tie the suture for the subscap differently as the supraspinatus tendon. And after, the very important thing is to repair the coma sign, because it was described by Burkhardt, and it's very strong point, and it's strong to be reduce the tendon in place, and it was very, very good landmark to restore well. And after, you can prepare the lateral row with a different anchor, but you compress the tendon onto the bone, and you can finish with the fixation of the biceps tendon like this. And after, you can check it, the repair, the compression, and you can check at the end the good mobility of the muscle without adhesion with a nerve. The subscapularis augmentation has been described with the biceps tendon by Jan Lutzinger some years ago, and with the pectoralis minor described by Laurent Lafosse, but the tendon is definitively too short to go to the less tuberosity, and in open technique you use a tendon extension with a coracoacromial ligament, and you can create a plexus entrapment with, because you go back with a pec minor. For irreparable subscapularis tear, if you have severe atrophy and fatty degeneration equal or more than Goutalier 3, an MRI is not a good option to repair it. And if you have irreducibility during the surgery, you cannot repair it. Bassem El Hassan and Jean Cany describe the latissimus dorsi to arthroscopically to repair the subscapularis tendon. I mean, it's a very interesting things. Different result of different technique of the repair of the subscapularis. Our theory for the French Arthroscopic Society Symposium, you see the result is not too bad at only 1 year of follow-up. But during that, you can constate the superior atrophy of the subscapularis muscle, and you can explain it by the release, posterior release of the subscapularis muscle, because you devascularize the muscle as well. Thank you for your attention.